Am I the a-hole for not wanting my husband to go to his ex's funeral? Original post. I'll admit I'm biased right off the bat. I couldn't stand her. I call her his ex to myself and others, but he called her his friend. We're all in our early 40s. She died recently, aneurysm. I've been with him 10 years now, but he'd known her for 20 plus. The way he tells it, they were friends in college, decided to date, got married, then realized they weren't a great couple, and decided to just be friends. All that happened years before I met him. He was clear early on that she was important. A couple months into dating, it came up that his friend was actually his ex-wife. He explained the above to me, saying she was one of his closest friends, and that it was purely platonic. I expressed some discomfort at him being so close to an ex, and he told me, "That's fine. If you have a serious issue with it, let me know now and save us some time. I'll choose her. I like you and all, but I've known her for over 12 years, and she's one of the most important people in my life. You'll have to be okay with that if you want us to be a thing." When we were engaged, I asked again. He gave me this perplexed look and asked, why would us getting married affect my friendships? I sucked it up and went along. I resented every moment of knowing her, especially when we had to be social. She understood some part of him I couldn't. Her husband was friends with mine as well, so it's not like I could use him as an angle. He'd have lunch with the ex, they'd go to their geeky movies and whatever. The few times I brought it up, he said, "We had this conversation before. You had your chance to back out." She died after they had lunch the other day on the way to her car. He spent a bunch of time crying, but honestly, I was relieved. He was working with her husband on funeral planning. I told him, "You don't think you're going, do you?" My argument summed up, she's dead, so she's not a factor anymore. He doesn't get to use his "she's my friend" excuse since she doesn't exist anymore. He had his cry for a couple days. He gets to be done with mourning her already. There's no need for him to go to her funeral since I wouldn't want her at his. He was the angriest I've ever seen him when I told him that, replying that he'll be going no matter how I feel, and that he's willing to burn this to the freaking ground, while holding up his wedding band. Besides you, she was the closest friend in my life. Him, her husband, and my sisters are calling me an insensitive a-hole over this, all saying that there was no romantic aspect to their relationship, and that I'm heartless. Her husband went so far as calling me a ghoul for how I've reacted. I never felt their relationship was appropriate, and I hid that for years, because I wanted to be with my husband. Now that she's gone, I don't feel I should have to hide it anymore, and can speak freely. Am I the a-hole for just wanting him to be done with her, and for him to not attend the funeral? You're the a-hole. When he divorces you, he probably won't have to explain his friendship with you to the next woman, because, seriously, who'd want to stay friends with a woman who had treated you like this? Best comment here so far. OP is very much the a-hole. If it bothered her so much, she should not have married him. He was upfront about it. If she had any class, she could have just not said anything, gave her condolences, and be done with it. But she had to show off her ghoul face to everyone in mourning. What kind of monster is relieved that her husband's friend died? Way to show your true colors, somewhere in the middle of snot green and pure black. OP should get some therapy and go look for a heart with Dorothy. I've been thinking about this a lot, and based on the OP's behavior, I am so sad the guy lost the only good friend in his life. OP isn't one. If she doesn't exist anymore, why are you still so jealous of her? He can't even leave you for her now, so I think it's time you got past it. You're the a-hole. You can speak freely, and he can leave after finding out how heartless you actually are. Fair enough. That's the thing, though. Even if she doesn't exist, that doesn't mean there will be nothing else to worry about. Every anniversary of the death, every birthday of hers that she's no longer here for, etc. Does she expect him to not acknowledge any of that? Because from what it sounds like, he's the type of person who would. Just because she's gone doesn't mean she's gone. Even her death isn't going to be enough for OP. She's going to want him to pretend this person never existed in the first place. Now for the update. We've been together for 10 years, but he's choosing to end all of that because of how I reacted to his ex-wife's death. They were friends when we met, and his claim was that they dated and gotten married while they were young and dumb, before realizing they worked better as friends than as a couple. He told me that if I wanted a relationship with him, I needed to accept she'd always be part of his life. He'd do things like go to geek movies with her, and sometimes her husband, they'd do their tabletop gaming, all of which I found boring. He and I had a mostly happy marriage, I thought, but I had to deal with her presence and pretending she and her husband were friends. I hated her, and when she died, I was relieved. I didn't want him going to his funeral, saying now that she was out of his life, he was done with her. I was called cold and callous for wanting to put my foot down. Yes, he went to the funeral, which I was very uncomfortable with. I asked him not to go again, and he just gave me this cold, expressionless stare. She was cremated, and my husband was given a little bit of her ashes and a small urn the size of a pill bottle. I told him it was creepy to have them, and he flipped me the bird. The past month plus of my life has been a nightmare because of her dying. My husband has barely talked to me, and I've received texts from nearly all our friends and family calling me a monster, all because someone saw my original post on Reddit and shared it with everyone they could, even people at my job. Many of the posts here were nice, in comparison to the things the people I thought were my friends said. I was just out of town for several days on a work trip. On Friday, I came home to a partly empty house, his car gone, and a petty-sounding letter saying that we would be getting a divorce. Not that he wanted one, that it was going to happen. He'd already filed. He said that my post was one of the most hurtful things he's ever read, and that my jealousy of his friendship was insane. He wrote, I freaking watched her die. She was walking by my side when it happened. I have nightmares about it. He said I'd be keeping the house because I don't want to spend every morning waking up to a reminder of the years of lies that was our marriage. He left a list of what he's taking, saying I can keep the rest. His last line was, if it'd been me instead of her, she'd have been there for you in an instant. Remember that. I learned he's staying with her husband because that man sent me a long text telling me to stay away from his home, and he regretted ever letting me into his life. My own sister said if she learned I was dating someone, she'd fill him in on what a black-hearted C-word I am. So yeah, my husband is divorcing me because of his first wife's death. She's more important to him, and it seems to our friends, than keeping our marriage together is. She's screwing up my life even from the grave. Whenever someone's own sympathetic account of events makes them look like a complete a-hole, you have to wonder how much worse it actually was. Telling, I think, that she casually drops right in the middle of her update that her husband was with his friend when she died and is clearly traumatized by it. Christ, suspect the funeral wasn't the only reason OP's husband left. In her first post, she said that the friend died right after one of their lunches, but not that he was with her when it happened. And yet her response was cry for a few days. Get over it? The woman's husband knew nothing was going on. They were friends. OP is definitely a selfish, cold-hearted C-word. Not to mention, OP actually did that to herself. He told her what was up, and she decided to stay. Tough for me to have sympathy for on that alone. She could have said, nope, and left him. She's screwing up my life even from the grave. Girl. No, like I literally screamed when I read that. Zero self-awareness. Next story. Am I the a-hole for filing for full custody of my baby while my ex is going through postpartum depression? I'm 20 male and I have a 6-month-old daughter with my ex. She's 19. We weren't really ready for a baby, but once it happened, I stepped up. Things between us got really hard after she gave birth. We argued all the time or we just didn't talk. She seemed really checked out. We broke up about 2 months after the baby was born, but I kept coming around to help. Pretty soon, I started noticing she wasn't really taking care of the baby. I'd show up and the baby would be crying in the crib, diapers soaked, formula still sitting out from hours ago. And my ex would just be lying there in bed, not moving, barely talking. She'd tell me she was tired or just needed rest, but it kept happening. She forgot to feed her a few times. Sometimes she'd say she didn't even realize the baby was crying. I started doing more, feeding, changing, keeping the baby overnight. I asked her if she was okay and if she'd talked to someone, but she'd just say she was fine and that I didn't need to worry. Then she started calling me in the middle of the night. At first I thought it was just to ask for help, but the things she was saying scared me. She cried a lot. Sometimes she wouldn't say anything at all. A few times she said she didn't think she could do this. One night she said she had thoughts of hurting herself and even mentioned taking the baby with her so they'd both be at peace. That messed me up. I didn't yell, I didn't argue. I just told her I was coming over, and I took the baby home with me that night. After that, I decided I needed to tell her parents what was going on. I wasn't trying to get her in trouble, I just didn't know what else to do. To their credit, they took it seriously. They told me they're going to help her, try to get her into counseling, and keep an eye on her. I really hope they do. I don't want her to go through this alone. Since then, the baby's been with me full time. My ex still sees her, but only when I'm around or someone else is. I haven't stopped her from being involved, I just don't trust that it's safe for her to be alone with the baby yet. She still hasn't gotten help, at least not that I can see. She keeps saying she's fine, but nothing's really changed. So I filed for full custody. I didn't want to. I don't hate her. I'm not trying to take anything away from her. But I can't gamble with my daughter's safety. I told my ex she could see her whenever it's safe, and I want her to be part of her life. I really do. But now she's mad. Her friends are calling me names and saying I'm heartless, that I'm using her depression against her, that I'm making her out to be a bad mom. But I'm not. I know she's struggling. I know it's not her fault. But I can't wait around hoping things get better while my kid is in the middle of it. I'm doing the best I can, and I'm scared too. I didn't plan for any of this. I'm just trying to keep my daughter safe and give her a stable life. So yeah, I filed, and now I feel like the bad guy. Like maybe I didn't give her enough time, or maybe I should have handled this differently. Am I the a-hole? You're taking care of your baby, and that's what a parent does. Your ex is having a mental health crisis and isn't safe to have the baby alone. You did everything you're supposed to do. Not the a-hole. Agreed, not the a-hole. I would have the court add a stipulation in that once she stays in therapy for a while, she can have some of her rights restored. That's a good incentive for her to go to one. She sounds like she has major postpartum depression, and without professional assistance, she could become a real danger to herself and your baby. Just keep trying to be there and encourage a healthy relationship between mom and baby. Her friends can shut the heck up, unless they're volunteering to watch the baby 24/7 to make sure she's safe. Easy to call someone heartless when they're not the ones dealing with it. Not the a-hole. She really needs to talk to her OBGYN. It sounds like maybe postpartum psychosis. It's serious. There's far more than PPD. She needs medical intervention. I have a relative whose wife struggled very hard after having children. They had natural triplets, and both have a history of substance abuse. When the triplets were 2, she went for a walk and never came back. They found her a couple of months later, dangling from a tree. Even though she's the ex, OP needs to help her. It sounds like she definitely needs intervention. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not listening to my husband when he told me to go inside? My husband's father was over and my husband, 30 male, is talking to him outside. I was inside making dinner and packaging meat for the freezer. I knew they were talking privately outside, so I stayed inside except to run to the garage for more zip ties for the freezer bags. My husband has a heart condition and is attempting to quit smoking because cigarettes will aggravate his condition. So our household is a no-smoking household. No cigarettes on the property allowed. All guests know this. Well, after they talked for an hour or so outside, I looked out the window and saw that my husband's dad had given my husband a cigarette. So, not only did he bring them onto the property, but he offered one to his son with a heart condition. I was mad about this and went out to confront my husband because he broke his promise. I was told by my husband to go back inside. They were talking. I would have, but then his father told me in a very rude tone, "Yes, OP, go inside." I was not going to listen to that order on my own property. I told my father-in-law that he brought cigarettes onto the property, and not only that, but he offered one to his son who has been told by the doctor that even one could cause a stroke. His dad then started hurling insults, said I should get off my lazy butt, I should get a job, that I should do more around the house, and a few more insults that included cussing. At this point, I'm expecting my husband to defend me from this man, but again, he just says to go inside. So I defend myself with some insults of my own toward my father-in-law. After the fact, my husband told me that he knew what his father said was disrespectful, but that he wanted me inside so that he could handle it. Because his father doesn't respect women and wouldn't hear it if I was out there. My opinion is that if he won't respect what is said to him while I'm there because I'm a woman, he shouldn't be there anyway. Can't respect me, shouldn't be on my property. I don't like or trust him anyway. Make sure he has a good insurance policy. Next few comments are like, you have a marriage problem. Not really, if you get life insurance and invite the father-in-law over a few more times. Not the a-hole. Your husband was going to handle it by pacifying his father, and he should be able to defend you whoever is around in any and every circumstance. That's what I figured, but now he's mad at me for not trusting that he would handle it. Just not in front of me, which I feel means he wanted to respect his father by not saying it in front of me. He would handle his dad about as well as he handled not smoking. In other words, he just wanted you gone so he could smoke and talk to his dad. What you say doesn't matter. What doctors say doesn't matter. That apple doesn't fall far from the tree. You should be pissed your husband took the smoke at all. He should be the focus of your ire. Sounds like you have a husband problem. He doesn't respect you enough to set his dad straight, and he doesn't respect or love you enough to do what it takes to stay alive and keep being your partner. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry you are in this position at all. Hope hubby is insured. Not the a-hole and you have a husband problem. My husband has agreed that his father was insulting, disrespectful, and that he was out of line. He also got mad that I didn't listen to him when he said go inside. This is a marriage problem. I don't want divorce. We both made vows. I want to resolve this, but now my husband says I'm disrespecting him by not agreeing with him. He says he doesn't want to talk about it until I'm ready to understand his perspective, which basically means until I'm willing to agree with him.